secluded and alone, where time runs its own pace and never thinks for others. You could yell hello, yell your name, and all you hear are the thunderous mountains imitating and thoughtful. Her ancient and timeless mountainside, an enchanted forest, and we, 100 years later, still see and love her as an escape from this strange place we call reality. Once a mere resting place for the men who blast tunnels on the way to new land and resource, now a resting place from our own minds. Even to this day, one can hear the ghosts of men laboring over the railroad spikes and steel, the sweat falling upon her soul. The great new times of industry charging through the peace and calm of all the life she held. Some stopped and looked. They saw the wild, they saw her lovely temper, the sky and the stars at night. They saw what this beautiful land had, character and life. They saw promise in her. They saw a secret garden, a treasure of vast proportions to be passed on to their children, a place to protect and cherish, a place to escape the high and towering life of the city. 7 families set out to share the promise of this magical and special place named Miramonte. To taste her sweet air and drink water from the fresh mountain streams. To feel free. He was of Bohemian and Austrian birth and very large of stature. He said at 6 feet 3 inches and 213 pounds, he was the smallest of his family. After being stolen at 12 years old to work on a sugar beet farm in Russia and running away at 14, he was unable to wait around for life to appear before his eyes. He came to America then, tramping along forests and roads and train tracks, stealing lunch pails to get by and throwing them along the tracks. Even though he had a deep despising feeling for machinery and man-made things, all he wanted was a place to call home. In time he found Miramonte, hidden among the Rocky Mountains. She was the closest in similitude to his homeland of Bohemia, and he stayed. Yet within the echoes of the train tracks and 7 families sharing the splendor and unbroken wildness of these mountains, it was he who loved her more than they could understand. It was he who stayed during the bitter winters and refused to leave while others searched refuge from her harsh temper in the city. It was he who did not try and tame her wild beauty and live with respect within the confines of his humble bones. It was he, sick with pneumonia and mortally ill, who whispered her name, wishing nothing more than to be with her in spirit. "Take me back to my mountain," he said. Unmistakable, that was the only thing they could truly ever offer him. This was a man with the strength of the toughened black bears he lived among, but a heart of gold he never mined for. He never searched for wealth or fortune, because he saw it in the natural beauty around him. A man who spoke of trees as living and wise souls and nothing less. He never rose his temper in front of women or children, but when he did, his voice became as thunderous as the echoing mountains. His spirit dances among the bitter winds of winter and warm summer days. He died on a cold November night, but his friends gathered on Miramonte's frozen grounds and burned a bright fire to thaw his final resting place. He was buried where he was meant to be, and his final wish came true. He was one of a kind. Perhaps he was crazy, or maybe just a little too wild himself, but it didn't matter. He taught the young how to respect nature, taught men how to live within the wild at peace, and taught the women how to be a good friend. He was quite the mountain man, rugged and thoughtful, and rarely laughed. And yet, Henry Kabitsky was nothing less than free.